Some horses dominate for a season, maybe two, and then they fall. For this list, we're focusing on horses that ran in significant stakes races, not just easy allowance wins against weak fields. We're talking about horses that faced real competition and still walked away perfect. Now, let's meet the legends. At number 10, we have a horse most casual fans have never heard of. And that's the tragedy, because this horse had a perfect record, almost erased by history. Colin, a champion from the early 1900s who won all 15 of his races and was never seriously challenged. Colin was bred in the United States and trained by James Rowe Sr., one of the most respected trainers of his era. From his very first start, Colin showed something different. Speed, yes, but also composure, the kind of calm confidence that separates good horses from immortal ones. He won the Belmont Stakes, the Wither Stakes, and the Brighton Derby. Every major race he entered, he conquered. But here's the heartbreak. Colin's career ended at just 3 years old due to illness. He never got the chance to prove himself at 4 or 5. He never got the farewell race, the final bow, the legend's exit. Instead, he quietly retired to stud, and history nearly forgot him. But perfect is perfect, and 15 wins without a loss is something only a handful of horses in history can claim. Number 9 is Personal Ensign. But wait, she's not the sprint horse. That's coming later. Actually, at number 9, we're talking about a true sprint tyrant from Australia, Black Caviar. 25 races, 25 wins, and 0 defeats. Black Caviar wasn't just undefeated, she was a cultural phenomenon. In Australia, she was royalty. Crowds packed racetracks just to watch her warm up. Her races weren't competitions, they were coronations. She dominated sprint races with a style that seemed almost effortless. Explosive gate speed, unstoppable acceleration down the stretch, and a closing kick that left rivals looking like they were running in sand. Her most famous win? The 2012 Royal Ascot Diamond Jubilee Stakes in England. The whole world was watching. Could the Aussie Queen conquer Europe? She won by a nose. It was the closest call of her career. A head bog at the line, 1 frame away from her first loss. But she held on, because that's what legends do. Black Caviar retired in 2013, undefeated, and became one of the most beloved horses in racing history. Blink and you missed it, but if you saw her race, you never forgot. At number 8, we meet a horse most Western fans have never seen race, Kinchem. 54 races, 54 wins, and 0 losses. That's not a typo. 54. Kinchem was a Hungarian mare who raced in the late 1800s across Europe. England, France, Germany, Austria, she beat them all. But here's why she's the international phantom. Most of her races were never filmed. No slow-motion replays, no televised broadcasts. Just newspaper reports and faded photographs. Language barriers meant her story stayed locked in Eastern Europe for decades. Travel restrictions during her era meant she never faced American champions. But the record speaks for itself. Kinchem won on dirt, she won on turf, and she won short sprints and long-distance grinders. She beat colts, she beat champions, and she never lost. Some historians argue she's the greatest racehorse ever, male or female. But because most fans have never seen her run, she remains a ghost. A perfect ghost. Number 7 is the story of greatness held together by hope and prayer. This is the horse that walked the line between legendary and tragic every single time it stepped on the track. Eclipse, the 18th century British thoroughbred who won all 18 of his races, but raced with a body that seemed destined to break. Eclipse had a reputation for being difficult to train, temperamental, and hard to handle. But when the gates opened, he was untouchable. He never lost, but those around him knew. One wrong step, one bad surface, one awkward stumble, and the perfect record would shatter along with his legs. So they retired him at 5 years old, still undefeated. It wasn't because he couldn't win anymore. It was because they couldn't risk watching him lose, or worse. Eclipse went on to become one of the most important sires in thoroughbred history. Nearly every modern racehorse traces back to him. But that perfect record? It was saved by a decision. The decision to walk away while still untouchable. At number 6, we have the horse that made everyone rich, Rewrote. 16 races, 16 wins, 0 losses, and a stud value that made him one of the most expensive horses in history. Rewrote was an Italian thoroughbred who raced in the 1950s, and he didn't just win. He obliterated fields. He won the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe twice. He beat the best horses in Europe by lengths, not inches, but lengths. But here's the thing about Rewrote. His owners knew exactly what they had, a money-printing machine. Every win increased his value, every dominant performance made him more valuable at stud, and the pressure to keep him undefeated, immense. So they protected him, carefully selected his races, avoided unnecessary risks, and it worked. Rewrote retired undefeated, became one of the greatest sires of all time, and made his owners an absolute fortune. Some call that smart, others call it playing it safe. Either way, the record is perfect, and the bank account, even more so. Number 5 is the horse that made grown men cry, Personal Ensign. 13 races, 13 wins, and 0 losses. But it's not the numbers that make her legendary. It's how she won. Personal Ensign was an American mare who raced in the late 1980s. And from her very first race, she had something special, a heart. She broke her left hind leg as a 2-year-old. The injury was so severe, most horses would have been retired immediately. But she fought back, recovered, and came back stronger. Her most iconic race? The 1988 Breeders' Cup Distaff at Churchill Downs. It was supposed to be her farewell, one last race to cement her legacy. She was up against Winning Colors, the Kentucky Derby winner, a brutal, fast filly who had destroyed fields all year. And with a furlong to go, Personal Ensign was losing. The crowd gasped. The perfect record was about to end. But then she dug in. Inch by inch, stride by stride, she clawed her way back. At the wire, she won by a nose. The roar from the crowd was deafening. Jockeys, trainers, and fans, everyone was in tears. She had done it. 13 for 13. Perfect. That final stride, that last roar, that last victory, that's the moment legends are made. At number 4, we have a horse that wasn't just fast. He was built for perfection. Secretariat? No. Man o' War? Close. This is Zenyatta. Wait, no. Actually, number 4 is Pepper's Pride. Just kidding, number 4 is actually a debate. Let me tell you about Balram, a British-Irish horse who won all 9 of his races in the 1930s, including the English Triple Crown. But what made Balram different wasn't just his record, it was his body. Scientists who studied him noted his stride length was longer than almost any horse they'd measured. His lung capacity was off the charts, his muscle efficiency was absurdly high, and his heart? Estimated to be significantly larger than average. Balram wasn't just trained to win, he was born to win. He faced the best horses Europe had to offer, and he beat them all. Some by lengths, some by fractions, but always, always ahead. Bahram retired to stud and became a legendary sire, passing on those genetic gifts to future generations. And somehow, even this perfect genetic specimen was only number 4. Number 3 is where things get controversial, because this horse was utterly dominant, but critics say he was never truly tested. Ormond, 16 races, 16 wins, and 0 losses. Ormond raced in England in the 1880s and won the English Triple Crown without breaking a sweat. Literally, jockeys said he could have won his races at a canter. But here's the debate. Ormond's competition was questionable. His biggest rival, Minting, was injured before their most anticipated matchup. Other top horses avoided him entirely. So while Ormond's record is perfect, there's an asterisk in some people's minds. Was he unbeatable or just unchallenged? Dominance is impressive, but is it legendary if no one truly pushed you? I'll let you debate that in the comments. But here's what we know for sure. History agrees that 2 horses were even more untouchable than Ormond. And the top 2? Absolute titans. Number 2 is the horse that almost lost it all in one single race. 1 stride, 1 inch, and 1 heartbeat away from imperfection. This is the story of Frankel. 14 races, 14 wins, 0 losses, and a final rating that made him one of the highest-rated racehorses in history. Frankel was a British thoroughbred who dominated from 2010 to 2012. He won at every distance. He beat every rival. He set records that still stand today. But there was one race where it almost ended. The 2011 St. James's Palace Stakes at Royal Ascot. Frankel was the heavy favorite, but early in the race, he was boxed in, trapped on the rail, no room to move. His jockey, Tom Quayle, had to make a split-second decision. Wait for an opening or force one? He forced it. Frankel surged through a gap barely wider than his body, bumped a rival, nearly clipped heels. If he had stumbled just once, the perfect record would have been over. But he didn't stumble. He exploded through the gap and won going away. 1 inch closer to disaster, and Frankel wouldn't be on this list. But that's the thing about perfection. It's not just talent. It's timing, luck, and the will to survive when everything's on the line. Frankel retired undefeated and became one of the most expensive stallions in the world. But that one race? That's the race that proved he was more than just fast. He was untouchable. And now, number 1. The greatest undefeated racehorse in history. Some of you already know, some of you are about to learn. This is This is actually the story of a debate, because naming the greatest undefeated racehorse ever is almost impossible. But if we're talking pure dominance, pure legacy, pure immortality, the answer is Kinsum. 54 wins, 0 losses, case closed. But if we're talking modern era, documented greatness, and global recognition, it's Frankel. And if we're talking sheer cultural impact and the weight of carrying a nation's hopes, it's Black Caviar. But for this list, for the number 1 spot, we're giving it to the horse that did it first, the horse that set the standard, the horse that every undefeated champion since has been measured against. Eclipse. 18 races, 18 wins, and 0 losses. Eclipse was born in 1764 during a solar eclipse, hence the name. And from the moment he first raced, it was clear he was different. He won his debut by multiple lengths, then did it again and again. His owners quickly realized they had something special, so they issued a challenge. They'd give massive odds to anyone who could beat him. No one ever did. Eclipse didn't just win races, he redefined what winning meant. Jockeys said he could have won while carrying extra weight. Trainers said he barely needed to train. He was so dominant that after one season, people stopped betting against him. They just bet on the margin of victory. Eclipse retired at 5 years old, undefeated, and became the foundation of modern thoroughbred breeding. Nearly every racehorse alive today traces back to Eclipse. That's not just a perfect record. That's immortality. They didn't quit while ahead. They quit while untouchable. All right, now it's your turn. Here's the question that'll start a war in the comments. Is an undefeated horse greater than a long-career champion who lost a few times? Is it better to retire perfect or fight until defeat? Because let's be real, Secretariat lost, Seabiscuit lost, and Man o' War lost once. But they raced longer, faced tougher competition, and took bigger risks. So what matters more, the perfect record or the legacy of fighting through adversity? And here's another one. Which horse on this list would survive today's competition? Could Eclipse beat Frankel? Could Consem beat Black Caviar? Let's look at the stats. Number 10, Colin. 15 races, never pushed. Number 1, Eclipse. 18 races, redefined greatness. The gap? Not as big as you think. So tell me, who deserved number 1? Who got snubbed? And what horse should have been on this list that I didn't include? Drop your answers below because I'm reading every single comment. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay legendary.